I've made it very clear that I am someone who likes the Young Turks, most particularly its host, Cenk Uygur. He sometimes says things I don't agree with, and I've called him out for it. And that's exactly what we're doing today. So yesterday, in the, I'd say, latter afternoon hours, the word Cenk was trending on Twitter. And I was a little confused by this because I just thought to myself, what could he have possibly said to attract this type of interest? Because he usually, along with most progressive commentators, seldom gets mentioned by people who are supporters of other candidates. So while you might see Cenk talk about Joe Biden, you might see Jimmy Dore say something about Biden, Kyle Kalinske, any of these people that are considered progressive commentators, it's very rare for surrogates of these people to respond to them or to give them any real attention at all. So the tweet he wrote, and it's in this screenshot, is if we had a Democrat with balls when we take over, they'd cut off funding to red states and make them beg for their handout. Almost all of them are welfare queens who live off the blue states. Republican-run states are on average miserable failures who take more than federal government. This tweet is one of the dumbest I have seen him write. And I'm going to go through it. So one of the things Cenk has talked about pretty much since Trump began running for president in 2015 is that the current U.S. president is this divisive figure who is, trying to pit us against each other. And that's not who we are. That was one of the lines. It's funny. I oftentimes say I like Cenk and I dislike Adam Schiff, the Democratic congressman I did a documentary on last month. But that was a particular phrase that I remember Schiff using as well. This idea that they know who we are, that they have some better understanding of what it means to be an American than other people, I guess. So if he truly believes Trump is divisive, if he believes that the Republicans are trying to pit us against each other via race and where we live and all of these different things that shouldn't matter, why the hell would you suggest cutting off funding to people who live in red states just because a Democrat that you think, like, how the hell does doing something that partisan make a Democrat have balls? He is aware of the fact, I know he is, that in red states, there are a lot of people who sometimes vote against their own interests. There are people who vote for the Democrats. So you really have nothing to gain from trying to take a state that is, again, mostly red, but still has Democrats in it and say, oh, no, you're just like the Republicans who are running your state, so screw you. And you have people who aren't even with either party. They're just these nonpartisan figures who, I guess, would still reap the benefits of this suggestion by him. This really strikes me as him basically saying, I want to punish you for where you live versus what you've done. If you want to have a hour-long video where you talk trash about the Florida governor, Ron DeSantis, or as I used to call him, DeSantis, I'm all for that. If you want to discuss Greg Abbott and all the shootings that happened in Texas and him turning a blind eye, that's cool. But to go after the state, the Republican Party of Texas, of Alabama, of whatever southern state or red state you might think of, is not the actual state. So even if a majority of people vote for Republicans in South Dakota, a very large portion of those people don't vote at all, or they vote for Democrats, and they would be affected negatively by this move. And even if they vote for Republicans, I don't see what benefit we have to cutting them off from aid that we've been giving them for years. Just because they vote differently from us? I thought the whole point of the period after elections is, all right, we had an election. Now let's get back to trying to live together and work in some bipartisan capacity that at the very least is trying to be cooperative. That's why we talk about how the Senate and the House, well, not the House anymore because the House has since changed to being Democratic, but there was often this thing about, oh, the Senate is filled with partisan divides and McConnell won't bring anything up for a vote. So you want to do the exact same thing. If the state has, what, a Republican governor, you're going to punish it? Again, I am a fan of the Young Turks, at least some of its hosts. I watch them regularly. Not a good tweet at all. And that's why I screenshotted the Gravel Institute's comment where they said, Cenk is a good guy, but expletive poor people from red states is never a good answer. I'm not a Californian, I'm an American. And if there are people who are struggling in Texas or Tennessee or South Carolina, I don't see a goddamn problem with assisting those individuals.